was born October the 8th in 1755 and way in Germany. At the age of 15, I came to America, the United States of America, with my parents. It was not a fun trip. One of my brothers died on the ocean voyage coming here. Then my parents lost all their money somewhere on the voyage. So they made me work with my brother. And I worked as a blacksmith, putting shoes on horses, and learned what a blacksmith did. I enlisted in 1775 in the American Revolutionary War. But after 3 months, they sent me back home because I was too short in stature. I married Elizabeth Throne in 1776, and then the Army called me back because they learned I was a blacksmith. Together, Elizabeth and I had 5 children living in Pennsylvania. Then we moved to Lewisburg, Virginia, which is now West Virginia. And just so you know, Lewisburg was named after Lewisburg, West Virginia. That's how we got our name. Together we had 13 children, and 2 died when they were young. I made 8 trips on horseback. Does anybody have a horse here? One of my trips, I established a distillery or winery where I made wine. It was located where the apartments by the spray park are down here in Lewisburg. You know where the spray park is?
Yeah.
That's where I opened my distillery way back in the 1800s.
I've seen like this.
Then I put my son and George in charge of it. My wife refused to come with me on my trips because I was in ill health and fear of the Indians. Are you afraid of Indians?
No.
Okay. So after she passed away, I immigrated here with our children to Lewisburg. On September 7th of 1818, 200 years ago, with the help of Alexander McNutt as a surveyor, I platted this village of Lewisburg into 28 lots and named it after my former Virginia home, Lewisburg. I died November 17th, 1839, and was buried right here with my headstone, and right here, now known as Roselawn Cemetery. My grandson made my casket for me. When my estate was settled, they found $4,400 of silver in my desk. You see, there were no banks back then for my money to be safely kept. I hope you enjoy living in Lewisburg and learn about our history as much as I did. Okay? I got one thing I need you to do. During the Revolutionary War, if someone would come by and visit a tombstone, they would put a penny on it. Do I have a volunteer to put a penny on the headstone? Anybody want to do that? Sweetie, you want to come? She will raise her hand first. It's right here. Come on here.
I want to do it.
No, we just got one today, okay? You got to go. Just put it right up here on the headstone.
My name is Captain John Locke. I was born July 4th, 1755 in Frederick, Maryland. When my parents came to America from England, they did not have much education, and they taught me to work the land. I spent considerable time in the forest in pursuit of game, which was abundant and one of the main articles of food for the people of my time. Now, there was a famous shot fired from Lexington on the morning of April 19th, 1775, and was heard around the world. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Well, when it reached my ears, it aroused all the patriotism and love of my country in my heart. I decided to enter the Continental Army in the Revolutionary War, also known as the War of 1776. There are 6 Revolutionary soldiers buried in Roselawn Cemetery. I am one of them. I was an aide-de-camp to General George Washington. That means that I was a confidential assistant to General Washington. I served from Valley Forge to Yorktown. I was there when the proud British marched out and laid down their arms and surrendered. After the War of 1812, the federal government gave all soldiers land in Ohio if they would settle upon it and develop it. I married on March 22nd, 1780 in Woodsboro, Maryland. We have 7 children in 13 years. We decided to head to Ohio. Now think about what it meant to come to Ohio at that time. We had to make the trip in wagons through wilderness, where the roads were nothing but paths through woods, and we had to bring all our household things with us drove our cattle and sheep with us. There were no roads or bridges over the rivers and creeks, and we had to camp out in the woods every night. Once we got here, there were no houses ready for us. Before we could plant a crop, we had to clear the land of timber, and it was hard work, but we did it. I died October 4th, 1818, in Lewisburg at the age of 63.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Sharp. I was born in 1744 to Isaac and Margaret Sharp. My story starts here with the Indians that were in this area. They tried to break into James DeMotte's cabin, but when James came home early and saw the intruder, he killed the Indian with a club. James got his neighbor to help bury the Indian. But the news got out and the Indians were very unhappy, so they ambushed the Abbot's home, only I didn't know what was going on. I went to visit the Abbot's home, and I was easily captured by the Indians. They took me somewhere in Dark County, and I lived with them for a whole year. I was so scared, and I missed my family very much. The Indians finally released me a year later unharmed, but I was so shaken up, I made my family take me back to Tennessee. After the War of 1812, I came back here to Ohio. 10 miles south of Cincinnati, I got very, very sick. Some say that I got sick with just the thought of coming back here. I died, but my family brought me back here to be buried next to my brother Henry and my niece Catherine. That's my story.
My name is Joseph Singer. I was born in 1778 in Virginia. Although there is no way of proving who the first settler of this territory was, it seems hardly reasonable that anyone would bring his wife and children here before 1804. While there were so many hostile Indians around. I came from Virginia to Zanesville, Ohio. I was 29 years of age at the time. I wasn't married and was up for adventure. I arrived here on foot in 1802. I worked as a hunter for survey crews and hunted and trapped furs until May 15, 1804, when I bought the west section half of Section 34 in Harrison Township. The location of my log cabin was at 522 South Commerce Street, by where the Dollar General is now. But they moved the house so that they could build the bank there. The house was modernized and now stands behind the bank. My purchase was not the first on record though. 11 days earlier, Frederick Black bought the southeast section of 25 known as Hidden Valley Ranch. The stream that ran through their farm was known as Black's Creek. By then, the name was changed to Miller's Fork, supposedly from Frederick Miller of New Lexington. My wife Eve and I married in 1808 and received the first marriage certificate on record in Cripple County. We had 5 boys and 2 girls, and we lived in Lewisburg all of our lives. I died December 31st, 1840, and was buried in Euphemia Castine that later became Roselawn Cemetery when the 2 towns merged. And there is a picture of my marriage. Hello, my name is Daniel Burket. I was born in 1836 to Daniel and Catherine Burket right here in Preble County. I had 1 brother and 4 sisters. I married Mary Kirkland in October 10th, 1861. Together we had 7 kids in 15 years. It was October 26th, 1872. I was called to Sonora, to a tree near Sonora. Can you guess why? They called me because they had seen a beehive up in a tree and knew that I could get it. I was in the business of climbing trees in pursuit of honey. I seldom got stung. Well, I was engaged in this on a tree and looking at all the honey that I could get when I suddenly dropped to the ground. I had no idea what happened. I dropped a distance about 60 feet that almost killed me instantly. Now, think about that, 60 feet. And back then, there was no hospitals to rush me to. I left my wife and several kids in extreme poverty. They were left with a lack of food, clothing, and the necessaries of life. I was not there to support them. My wife did remarry and had 3 children, which I was happy about.
Hi, I am Margaret Ann Pease Floyd. I was born June 6, 1860. That's many years ago. To John and Mary D. I am one anniversary. Sadly, Martin and I were unable to have children of our own. But we lived on a farm west of West Sonora. On March 27, 1983, my husband, our neighbor, Thurman, and I, we tried to put out this fire using a bucket called a bucket brigade. There was so much smoke we couldn't see one another. And sadly, my husband and the neighbor thought I had left and gone back to the farmhouse. When the fire was nearly out and Martin brought a pail of water to put out the end of the fire, he found my body and I was gone. But back then, we didn't have fire trucks. We didn't have fire hydrants. We didn't have firemen to come out to put out a grass fire. So we had to do the best we could. But the firemen here teach you in school something very special that could have helped me. When your clothes catch on fire, what are you supposed to do? Stop, drop, and roll. But I didn't know that. And so I passed in the pasture because of the fire. And here is a picture of a locomotive and a fire going through. And we are going to be having a real bucket brigade here so you can understand what it was like back then when I was 82 years old trying to put out a fire. And my husband was 82. Thank you.
My husband, Charles, which is right here, Charles Cox. He was born in 1886 and he died in 1915. So my husband was on a farm 2 miles east of the village of Lewisburg, which is that direction. He grew up in this community and left to a secure position in Cincinnati. So he moved to Cincinnati as a chauffeur. Everybody know what a chauffeur is? No. Somebody that drives people around in cars to their destinations. Any place they need to go, he would drive them. So it was here in Lewisburg that he started, or in Cincinnati, that he started his racing. He was a car racer. So while living in the city, we met and we married, and for 8 years we were very happy. Charles decided to race his cars in Sioux City, Iowa. Everybody know where Iowa's at? Heard of Iowa? All right, well, it's kind of far away. It's kind of going west. So Charles started to acquire a fast reputation as an automobile race car driver and was driving an Origin Special in the races at Sioux City on Saturday around 2 p.m. So he was driving his car in a race. He was the 34th, it was on the 34th lap of the car race when his machine, which was his car, was struck by the front wheel of a Rickenbacker Maxwell while rounding a turn in the 2-mile track. So somebody hit his car and he crashed. So they managed to get him out of the car before it caught on fire. But he received some severe injuries. He had a broken left shoulder, he had a broken leg, and a crushed chest, and which one lung was pierced by one of his ribs, so he had a hard time breathing. The guy who was driving the car, well, he ended up finishing the race, and he won. So even though he ran into him and crashed him, he still won the race. And Charles was laid up in the hospital. So it wasn't until the next morning where that he passed away from all his injuries. So they put his body on a train to West Sonora. Everybody heard of West Sonora? Out that direction? Where his aunts picked him up for a viewing. So many people came who had known Charles from his younger days. They came to give their condolences to the family for how sorry that, he had died. And he left me with our daughter and his mother to mourn. He buried here on July of 1915. So this is where he's buried, right here.